Well, this morning, Father Aron Maghsoudi, pastor of All Saints Parish in Boswell, Holy Family Parish in Hooversville, and Our Lady Queen of Angels Parish in Central City, continues his tour of sacred worship sites here in our diocese and in neighboring dioceses.
It has been said that the opposite of love isn't hate, but it's indifference or apathy. A powerful anecdote to that is the second beatitude. Blessed are they who mourn, for they will be comforted. A magnificent sermon in paint that describes this beatitude is to be found at St. Nicholas Church in Millville, right outside of the city of Pittsburgh. This church was built by Croatian immigrants who settled in large numbers in the Pittsburgh area at the turn of the 20th century. In fact, there were about 50,000 who settled in this area. They come from mostly inland Croatia, so if you're not familiar with Croatia, on the backside of Italy is the Adriatic Sea. On the other side of that sea is Croatia. It hugs most of the coastline. However, there is a significant part that's inland, and that's where the Croatians in Pittsburgh came from. Now, when the Croatians came to Pittsburgh, they would build this church in 1900, and the church experienced a very serious fire in 1921. Though the church was not totally destroyed, all of the artwork on the inside was, and the church was largely whitewashed and plain. In 1931, they received a new priest, Father Albert Jagar, and Father Jagar was interested in repainting the church, allowing art and architecture to engage the hearts and minds of the faithful Croatians here in Millville. He contracted an artist, a Croatian by the name of Maghsoudi, and in 1937, Maghsoudi came here and he painted St. Nicholas Church in a way that is unique, perhaps to any church in the world. The artwork here is a powerful expression of that beatitude. How blessed it is, how good it is, how happy we should be that we mourn, that we love intensely, that we aren't apathetic about anything. Now that's expressed in three main themes in this church, namely mother, old world in comparison to the new world, and injustice. The first thing that catches your eye when you walk into St. Nicholas is the large image of the Croatian Madonna, of Our Blessed Lady, that's above the high altar. There in the apse you see Our Blessed Lady, and she sits with incredible strength. She sits with almost in the posture of a man. There she presents her divine son, but you see her wrists are thick. She has large muscular arms. She is a person with large hands like a Croatian baka or a Croatian grandmother. She is a person who exudes strength and vitality, something that is not demure, something that is hardly apathetic. There on the left side, you see Croatians, and they are out in the field and they are in their traditional attire. You see the church in the background, and you see those same large hands modeled on the hands of that Croatian woman. With great nobility, she prays, asking the Blessed Mother to pray for her. Now, in the background, you see the Adriatic Sea, and symbolically, it flows behind the high altar, and it comes out in the Allegheny River in Pittsburgh. There you see the New World, and this is, as I said, painted in the days when Pittsburgh was the Smoky City at the heart of the Industrial Revolution. You see a new world, a changed world, a world that lacks some of the natural qualities that you saw back in the old world. What's left for those same people? And look at the faces. You'll recognize some of them from the old country picture. And now here they are in Pittsburgh. You see Father Jagar kneeling on the ground, but you also see the peasants in the background, and they're carrying a model of the church. These peasants now become steel workers, are presenting the church to God through the Blessed Mother. At the front of the church to the right, you see an image of the Pietà, Christ off the cross, the seven swords of sorrows that pierce the heart of Our Blessed Lady, understanding that all mothers have sorrow. There is no love without suffering. Mary is dressed as a traditional Croatian woman in mourning. Right here you have an image called "A Croatian Mother Sends Her Son Off to War." Now the women here are dressed in a particular mourning attire from an area in Croatia called Jaska, and you'll notice that there are several women that are mourning the death of a young man who is depicted as laying on a platform in a casket, but it almost looks like an alt. There you see one of them, and she is near his head, and there you can see that's his mother, because she has a blue stripe, but it's across her breasts as a reminder of her motherhood. And there she weeps There, her pain is so powerful and so profound. On the hill in the background, you see a peculiar sight. You see a casket of another young man who has died in warfare, and it's being carried by women, not by men. Why? Because there was so much warfare, so much strife, that many of the men had left their families. They were off fighting. The women were left at home to suffer and to mourn. That pain is echoed finally in a third painting, which is called An Immigrant Mother Sends Her Son Off to Industry. Now, in this image, you see that same grief, but now it's echoed in the New World, another expression of pain. There he lies on the ground on a newspaper. You see the dangerous industry in the background, and you see how sometimes people aren't treated as an end in and of themselves, but simply as a means to an end. Every human life matters. There's a powerful antidote there to our own apathy and our own indifference. Behind me, you see an image of a woman who is tied to a cross. That isn't the Blessed Mother, but you see that she's a mother by the way that she's dressed, and that's Mother Croatia. You see the words on the book at the bottom, Mati, or Croatian for mother, 1941. It means that Mother Croatia, the Croatian people, are now on the cross, that they are profoundly united to Christ and his suffering. That theme is echoed in a myriad of ways in this church. You see justice and injustice. When you look at the image of injustice, you see that it's a dark and unsettling figure wearing a gas mask with a sword in his hand, being held by a bloody glove. In the other hand, he holds a scale, and on that scale you see that gold outweighs bread. Maybe it's a powerful reminder for us about how our lives sometimes have the wrong priorities. We don't care if we manipulate other people. We don't care if we step on other people. We are largely about only ourselves. When we look at that dark and unsettling image of death wearing a gas mask, or you see the image behind me of Mother Croatia, it's a reminder that we all have a role. Every human person must have a conscience that's well formed, that's not apathetic or indifferent. How blessed it is if we are people who love intensely and see the dignity and goodness of all people who are made in the image and likeness of our Creator. And there are images here that are also very positive and full of life. Behind me there is an image of a family that's breaking bread together, and that's juxtaposed with another image across from it. Now, the image that is across from this image is one of a man who is indifferent. He reads his stock report. There's a man like the poor man who begs for bread, the story of Dives and Lazarus. But you see this painting behind me as an antidote to it. There a family is gathered together, and they're a family in Millvale. You see the Croatian woman with her large hands. They enjoy a very simple meal, but they are grateful for it. They gather together in a sense of love, in a sense of faith, in a sense of gratitude. How often are we really grateful? Have we become so indifferent to things that we take them for granted? They are grateful, hardly indifferent or apathetic, for a very simple meal, for their time together. It's the sweet stuff of life. And there who stands in their midst is Christ. The man who's sitting there with a loaf of bread was not a Catholic. He was a Methodist who was the mayor of Millvale, a good friend of the people of this parish, who treated the immigrants in an age when many people treated Catholic immigrants with disdain. He treated them with respect. He treated them with dignity. And there, in the midst of their meal together, is Christ. Don't we see what this church teaches us? How blessed, how fortunate it is that we love intensely, that our lives and our decisions actually matter. When we mourn the loss of someone who has died, there is a sting. Would we want it to really be different than that? Would we want to be indifferent to that? Would we want our love to be something that's far more watered down and superficial? How fortunate, how happy, how good it is if we love intensely. Not only when we mourn the loss of a loved one, but at the same time, we grieve over other people's situations. We grieve over those who are affected by war, for those that are victims of human trafficking, for lives that are cheapened. We also mourn for our own sins. We look at our lives and we see the consequences of our actions, and we're not dismissive, but we see the seriousness of them. and we seek to start over again. There is always a great opportunity to begin our lives over. But it begins by humbly acknowledging that sometimes we all make mistakes. How fortunate we are if we really get that. Blessed are they who mourn, for they will be comforted. Let's take those words to heart and find the comfort that we ache for inside of us. Let us be grateful that we love intensely as Christ has loved each of us with incredible intensity and offers us abundant life.